Hey, how's it going everyone? Zach D Productions here, and I'm here for a different type of video for you guys. So for this video, I am going to be defending an album that I find kind of underrated, kind of overlooked, and this album is often considered a mixed bag among the fan base of this band, and that band is In Flames. Of course, In Flames is one of the pioneers of melodic death metal. And so the album that I wanted to talk about and defend in this video is In Flames' album, Sounds of a Playground Fading, which came out in 2011. And to be honest, I've always liked this album. Never had an issue with it. And I know for some In Flames fans, this ranks pretty low in their rankings when ranking the In Flames albums. I personally don't understand why, and that's why I want to do a video defending this album, because once again, it's considered a mixed bag by many. Some fans say there's only a few good songs on it, and that's just about it, but honestly, I don't agree. Now, of course, this is all opinion-based. If this ranks low for you in the In Flames discography, to each their own, of course. But for me, I like this album, and dare I say, I think it's one of their best, and it's one of my personal favorite In Flames albums. And I know that I'm not alone on this either. I know that there's other In Flames fans out there that actually do dig this album, such as my friend Dalvin. Dalvin might be watching this. I know that he really digs this album, and I can totally understand why. And I don't think that this album is as bad as a lot of fans say. Now, maybe it's just nostalgia from when I got into In Flames, because, well, believe it or not, I believe this was the first In Flames album that I've ever listened to in full. But the first In Flames song that I've ever heard was actually from their album A Sense of Purpose, which was Alias. But the first full-length album that I've heard from In Flames was Sounds of a Playground Fading. So there you go. So the things that I do like about this album, I really dig the atmosphere of this album, and I think that this is something that a lot of fans tend to overlook from this album, is the dark atmosphere that this album delivers. And not to mention, I feel like you get the old In Flames combined with the new In Flames on this album. I kind of think of this album like a modern day Jester Race, if that makes sense. And this album kind of has some of those elements of 90s In Flames, particularly the Jester Race, which I think is cool. And I think it's an aspect of this album that a lot of people tend to overlook, particularly those that don't care for this album too much. But again, I dig the dark atmosphere of this album. I mean, you got your haunting moments, such as in songs like The Attic, very haunting song, maybe one of In Flames' most haunting sounding songs, and other songs that have haunting sounds elements throughout this album. But you have that combined with this epic sound to it, with songs that even incorporate orchestral elements, such as the song A New Dawn. I really dig the orchestral section in that song. Really cool stuff, very unique for sure. I mean, it's really the atmosphere for me to why I think that this is a great album, and this is one that I gravitate to a lot. When I'm in the mood to listen to In Flames, this is one of the ones that I reach for the most. I mean, it's obviously up there for me with their 90s albums like The Jester Race and Colony, and even their early 2000s work like Clayman. But honestly, I think that this is up there with those albums as some of their best work. I know that that's very controversial in the In Flames fan base, but I think that when it comes to modern In Flames, or basically the stuff that they've done after the melodic death metal era, I think that this is the best post-melodic death metal In Flames album. That might be controversial, I don't know. But I really dig this album. I really dig it a lot. I mean, you really can't go wrong with any of the songs on this album. I mean, if I had to choose a least favorite, I would definitely go with Liberation, the closing track. This was always the track that I returned to the least on this album, but I won't say that it's bad or anything, but it's never been a favorite of mine. But as far as favorites go, Deliver Us, of course, a fun, catchy song. I do like the puzzle, Fear is the Weakness, Where the Dead Ships Dwell, which is one of the fan favorites on this one. And of course, A New Dawn, another great track. And Anders' vocals, that's something else too that's worth pointing out. He actually sounds pretty good on this album. I mean, I think that his aggressive vocals work on this album, and even the instrumentation. The instrumentation, again, it delivers this haunting sound, and it also delivers this epic sound at the same time. It's really hard to describe how they made it work, but that's really the best way to describe it, is that it delivers both haunting and epic. And that's what this album does. And I think it's just extremely well done. And I think it's a really great album. And honestly, again, I think it's one of the best albums that In Flames has ever put out. So I would say, if you are an In Flames fan, you've listened to this album, you did not like it at first, give it another chance. Re-listen to this one. And go into it with a different mindset as well. So that's all there really is to say. I think that this is a solid album, and it's worth a re-listen. So that is why I wanted to defend Sounds of a Playground Fading from In Flames, because I do think that this is a very strong album from the band, and again, I think it's one of their best. So let me know what you think. Do you agree with my takes? Do you also agree that this is a strong album and one of the best In Flames albums? Or do you still not like this album? You still rank this as one of their worst? Even still, even if you do rank this as one of their worst, to each their own, as long as we can respect one another's opinions, then it's all cool. It's all good. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, take care, and have a good one.